Hello, chemistry students. This is a video to give you some guidance on how to fill out the data section of the metal, non-metal lab that we did in class. But before we start, I just want to call your attention to the green sheet that we used, or the direction sheet that we used, because it's got some background information that you will need to utilize. So I'm going to switch here to a highlighter, because it says here under the background information that metals have a luster, which means that they're shiny. They are malleable, conduct electricity, and they react with acid and or copper chloride. The acid that you used was hydrochloric acid, and that was a clear fluid, while the copper chloride was a blue colored fluid. When we say that metals have luster, what we're saying is that they are shiny. When we say that metals are malleable, we mean that they bend or change shape without breaking. And all of these different characteristics were studied in the actively learned videos that I had posted for you last night. All right, well, let's look on to our nonmetals. So our nonmetals are usually dull in appearance, which is the opposite of shiny. They're brittle, which means that they shatter. They do not conduct electricity and do not react with acid or copper chloride. And then lastly, we have our metalloids. Metalloids, if you recall, either sit on top of the staircase on the periodic table, or they live underneath the stairs of the periodic table. And metalloids are going to have some properties of both metals and nonmetals, and they should have at least one property of each. So now what we're going to do is look at the data that you collected today in the lab, and let's just see what we got. Now, I'm not going to use real data. I'm just going to kind of make up some data as we go. So as you can see, when I tested element A, and remember, this is pretend, I said that it sparkles in order to indicate that it is shiny. And yes, it's a conductor of electricity, so it made that light bulb light up. The result of crushing is that it was brittle, so it shattered when I hit it with the hammer. It did not react with the acid, but it did react with the copper chloride. So these are the different things that we have, but let's sort them out. If you recall from the previous page, I used a yellow highlighter to highlight the characteristics of metals. So metals are shiny. So this box here, whoops, now I have to erase that. So this box here would be yellow, because if it sparkles and it's shiny, then it's going to be more metallic, and it conducted electricity, and that also is a metallic property. The result of crushing, though, is that it was brittle, and that is not a metallic property, that's a non-metal property. Also, another non-metal property is that it did not react with acid, so that's going to be a non-metal. And then but it did react with copper chloride with the blue solutions, so that is a metallic property. So as you can see, my element A shares properties with both metals and nonmetals. So how would we categorize this? Well, I'm going to scroll down to our final page. where I need to make the claim. So sample A had both yellow highlights and green highlights in it. So I'm going to say that it is a metalloid. You see, I remember that back in our directions, if a substance has at least one property that is metallic and one property that is not metallic, then it's likely to be a metalloid, one of those elements that displays both kinds of properties, and they live either on top of the stairs or underneath the stairs. So let's look back at my data so that I can write a good claim or evidence statement. Oops, sorry, I keep going overshooting a little bit. Okay, so as we look here, I would say that um, my element A is like a metal because it sparkles, because it conducts electricity, and because it reacts with copper chloride. But that it resembles a nonmetal because it is brittle when it got hit with the hammer and it did not react with acid. Therefore, because it contains characteristics of both metals and nonmetals, I'm going to categorize it as a metalloid. So I'm going to type that. I think that'll be faster in my last page here. All right. So here's my text box. Type it here. Okay, so this substance was shiny. Um, it conducted electricity. And reacted with copper chloride like metals. However, it was brittle and did not react with acid like nonmetals. Since it contains at least one metallic property and one non-metallic property, it is a nonmetal. And I'm going to pretty this up a little bit by making it just a little bit smaller so that it fits in the box. Maybe even smaller than that. There we go. And there is my answer. So you are going to go through each of the different samples just as I did. And if you want to color on your pages, that's fine. This does not get handed in. But you are going to use these papers on your lab quiz in a few days. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me through email or through Canvas. And I really hope that this video helped you. I hope you have a great night. Bye-bye.